Welcome back to another week, another day of our Arts for Lawrence Summer Camp. I'm your camp instructor, Sam, and I'm back for another day of our nature-themed week art projects. So what you're going to need for today, as you can see, I've already kind of started playing around with my materials, but you'll need your oil pastels. They're in this little baggie here. They're stapled shut, so just be careful while you're opening those. You're going to need your scissors, which were in here when I wasn't using them. But again, I was playing ahead with my masterpiece. And you're gonna need your index card or whatever kind of card or cards, if they're a little smaller, that we put in there. You're gonna be cutting these up, so it doesn't matter if anything's on them. Also, it doesn't matter if you use this one or if you have other index cards at home. Just make sure it's something that your parent or guardian, everyone is okay with you cutting up. You're also going to need your construction paper, specifically your black one. And then as always, you're going to need your pencil. I know we've been using these quite a bit lately, so make sure you remember you have your sharpener in your bag and you can keep that sharpened at all times. All right, so today's project, real quick before I forget, on Friday, to follow along with our nature theme, we're going to be doing an art project that involves leaves, like you would see outside from your tree. So make sure that you are collecting some leaves to use for that project on Friday. You don't need a ton, just enough to kind of give you some creative freedom when it comes to working on your masterpiece. So I didn't want to forget that. I want to remember to remind you all week that you be looking for those leaves. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started on our Northern Lights project. Now, if you've never seen the Northern Lights or any kind of pictures of them or have ever heard of them, here are some examples of what I'm talking about. Pretty cool, right? Now, obviously there's been a lot of scientific research done on the Northern Lights, and they have actually found that these are caused by solar winds and some electrons in there interacting and being pulled up into the poles at the top and bottom of the Earth. So what happens is those electrons being pulled from that solar wind actually mix up with the gases in our atmosphere and cause those really cool colors to appear. So what you're actually seeing when you see those different colors are the different types of gases interacting in that solar atmosphere as it's being pulled up to our northern poles. So obviously, we've done a lot of scientific research on these things, but way back in the day, they didn't know much about them. So there actually were some theories about what those colors in the sky were. For example, the Vikings actually thought that it was weaponry being used by immortal warriors, and it was just their shiny weapons, and that was the reflection of the shiny part of the weapon. Some believed in Alaskan culture that they were actually souls of salmon and deer and other animals, and that was being pulled. Those souls were being pulled up by those animals. And then last but not least, there are actually some Native American tribes that believed they were torches, so actual fire torches that they could see in the distance being used by giants. And that's what they thought those cool colors in the sky were. So obviously, I told you the scientific side, but I just thought it was neat to hear all the different theories and stories behind what people used to think those lights in the sky were. So let's go ahead and get started on our Northern Lights project. So I showed you what you were going to need. We're not going to need our paper just yet. We're going to need our card and our pencil. Now, as you saw in some of those pictures, you can kind of see the outline of the mountains or the hills as the lights shoot up from behind them. And that's kind of what we're mimicking in our work today. So you're going to take your card and your pencil, and you're just going to draw what you think the outline of a mountain or a hill might look like in the distance. And you don't have to make it detailed because we're going to actually cut this out. So if you messed up earlier in my take, I didn't like that I only had 2 mountains, so I went back and just added a couple more, and that's fine. It doesn't matter what it looks like on here since you're just cutting out the outline. All right, So this is what mine looks like. And if you have more than one index card, feel free to make a couple different stencils. That's what we're making here. Make a couple different stencils and then you can put them side by side, or if you just have the one, you can repeat it throughout the paper. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take my scissors. I'm going to cut along my mountains. And they can be as big or as small as you want. So it's your project. If you want to make them, you know, just a couple giant mountains. I have some varying sizes here. I have a giant mountain, a medium one, and then 2 small ones. But hold it up here so you can see. All right. And again, I can draw a smiley face on here if I really wanted, and it doesn't matter because we're just using it as a stencil. I'm going to place my scraps elsewhere to be thrown away. You don't need your scissors anymore, so you go ahead and put those away. And now is where it gets fun. So I have my black paper, I have my stencil, and I'm going to line up the corner of my stencil with the corner of the construction paper. You want to make sure you're holding down your stencil as best as you can. So some people I've seen use tape to just hold the corner, like at the very bottom of it, since you're not going to be drawing down there. I'm just going to use my hand. So I'm going to pick my first color, which I liked this pink. I thought there were some cool pink tones in those pictures we saw. And as you're holding it down, you're gonna lightly go from like the middle of your stencil up past the stencil onto the black paper about 2 to 3 inches. And I'm only gonna do it lightly, and I'm only going in this direction. So it's gonna be like back to front, up, back to front, up, back to front, up. We don't wanna go zigzag. You can pick your color however you want. Remember, we saw a lot of different colors in those pictures. So I'm gonna switch mine up and I'm gonna go to purple now. So I went from pink to purple, and I'm gonna overlap a little bit. So I want my colors to blend, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. So I'm gonna start probably like the last third of the way of my pink and start doing my purple. We wanna make sure we're getting all the way. You might have to go over a couple times the same spot, and that's okay. I'm gonna switch now to orange. I want to use my yellow, but it's kind of down there and I'm afraid to move my hand. Okay. Oh, it's right here. All right. And again, when you're starting a new color, you want to kind of go over the old color just a little bit. And as you can see, I finished my first part. And so it's kind of hard to see with the purple, but. And then all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the same stencil, or if you have a second stencil, that's fine. And I'm just gonna start it where my last stencil ended. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue with my yellow because I think this looks really cool. And you can kind of vary how far up you go. Again, I said 2 to 3 inches, but if you want to go further, shorter in some spots, that's okay. Move down to green. And you'll even notice too, the colors that you're actually drawing with will actually kind of blend with what's on the stencil already if you're reusing the same stencil, and it kind of creates some cool color effects. That's why we're using our oil pastels today, to make it look real. And then I only have a little bit of space left, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up that. I'm just gonna finish with yellow. Okay, so now, as you can see, I went around across the whole bottom. And I've seen other people do this and either use the same stencil or a different stencil, and then they kind of go into like do another set up here, or like a set here and a set here. because as we know it, Earth is not just flat, so you might have different varying heights of nature around you if you're looking at the northern lights in person. So it's up to you how you want to do it. I've seen people go back and add in using their white oil pastels, little animals on the mountains, so something that they kind of see in the distance. That's up to you. But at the very least, I have my one set of mountains here. I have my colors, and then using I would say a paper towel, just a little piece of it, or I prefer to use my finger. I'm just gonna have to wash my hands afterwards, which isn't a bad idea anyways. You're gonna take it and you're just going to lightly extend those colors up. So that'll kind of give it that look like the real northern lights, where it's being pulled in the atmosphere towards those poles. And also it's gonna blend that color together that you picked. All right, and there you have it. So there's my northern lights. Ah, pretty cool, huh? I could do this all day. It's super relaxing. Just picking out the different colors and watching them blend with one another is super exciting, and just, it's neat to pick out what I think I could see in that night sky. So I'm excited to see what you guys come up with and your unique take on the Northern Lights project. So make sure you're showing us what you got, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow.